know I already reviewed this album, but I'm still mystified and wonder what in the world is Judd Nelson doing on the cover of a Ringo album. Anybody out there know? Let me fill me in on that because I'm at a loss. Breakfast Club there. Anyway, hey everybody, it's Matt, and thought I would check in again with another Ringo album review. I reviewed Why Not yesterday, and today I'm reviewing the next one in release, the very imaginatively named Ringo 2012, because you see it came out in 2012. Isn't that clever? So this album came out January 30th of that year, and was a huge success for Ringo. It shot all the way up to number 80 on the charts in the United States of A. Did even better in England, where it got all the way up to number 181. So, yeah, let's another bland, boring cover of Ringo standing there and his glasses and doing the peace and love thing, which he's done for pretty much the last 15 albums before this. You got the Ringo 2012. You've got the little star behind there on his shadow. Quite clever, I guess. The back cover is actually more interesting than the front. It's an old hotel there, and then titles of the songs. And you've got your inner sleeve. Another boring picture. Again, nothing there. And once again, we got the damn squares with pictures in them that's been on the last 5 or 6 albums before this. I don't know what his fascination is with that, but I don't know. It doesn't do anything for me. We got the album itself. Not too crazy about the label either. Looks like an ad for Skittles or Starburst for me. Well, let's see. This album is very short. It's only about 26, 28 minutes long, which is about as long as the Beatles' second album is. That's my favorite album of all time. So, maybe this will surpass it in quality. Let's find out. Because with Why Not, it was a funny album. Like I said, I've had that album and this one too for several years. Didn't play either one of them too much, but when I used to play Why Not occasionally, I kind of enjoyed it. But when I was playing it the last couple of weeks or so, quite a bit for the review to get refamiliarize myself with it, it wasn't as good as I remembered it, I guess, because I wasn't too crazy about that album. But the albums before that, the 4 or 5 before that, I quite liked, and even though they had their ups and downs, all of them had some really good kind of hidden gems, really good songs on them. Ringo, Why Not? Just not that good of an album, but it does have Walk With You, the duet with him and Paul McCartney. I think that's what it's called. When I Walk With You, or Walk With You, which is a really good song, which should have been, if it would have got exposure, could have been, it should have been a hit. And then there's a couple other songs on there that are pretty good, but no, not a barn burner, nothing to write home about. When I Walk With You is the best song on there, and the only really good song on there, quality song on there. But Ringo 2012. So we've looked at the exciting album artwork there, which you might want to take your breath and sit down and sort of collect yourself after seeing all that greatness. Give you a second here, and okay, we'll go on into side one. This album opens with a song called Anthem. All the songs are written by Ringo, as usual with the last several albums. This one's no exception, excepting for there are a couple of covers, and I'll mention those when we get to them. But Anthem is one that Ringo wrote, of course, him writing with other people, as he always does. So, and this, Stop the Press, breaking news, Ringo's singing about peace and love. Who would have known? Who would have thought? Which at this point is, again, you know, it's just great that he's putting something good and positive into a world that's full of so much crap. But it is getting a little tiresome. It is getting a little trite. It is getting a little late period Michael Jackson singing about how the children are the future. Of course, Michael thought children were good for something else too, but we won't get into that right now. Apparently he did. Allegedly he did. But yeah, it's Ringo singing peace and love stuff again. But I'll give it a pass this time because the song's got a nice groove to it. Nice, slightly jangly guitar throughout parts of it, and then in other parts there's a guitar that's I don't think it's a wah wah pedal, but played with some kind of effects pedal. Sounds pretty good. Good. Probably not a great. Wouldn't have made a great single, but it's a good album opener and a pretty strong one. Fun song. The drums at the end and the play out of the song. There's Ringo drumming there. I really like that. So it's a good opener, and I'm going to give it an 8.5. It's Anthem is a pretty good song there. The second song on side one is Wings. Nothing to do with Paul McCartney's old band, but this is a re-recording of a song that Ringo originally did back in 1977 for the Ringo the Fourth album. This is same song but sounds different. And one thing about this was back around this time, 2012, and right around there, you heard a lot about the loudness wars on CDs. The CDs that were recorded and pressed kind of over compressed. I don't know if that applies to vinyl, but that's one detriment to this album, at least to my ears, is that a lot of this Ringo's vocal is often kind of pushed in the background, and a lot of times the sound on this album is just sort of like all the instruments are just sort of squeezed together and compressed, and so that kind of mars the album to some point, to some degree in my mind. Anyway, Wings, this version is more bluesy kind of rock than the 70s pop take from Ringo the Fourth back in 1977. I like the fact where it says the music keeps going around and around, where the sound kind of pans back and forth, kind of a nice little effect. I'm going to give this version of Wings a 7. I like the one on Ringo the Fourth too. I don't know which one I would prefer or pick if I had to choose. Maybe the Ringo the Fourth version because the vocals are clear, even though it's a totally different sound to that song. But this one's not sure why he re-recorded it, but I'm going to give it a 7. So then we come to song number 3 on side 1, which is Think It Over, which is a Buddy Holly song, a song that was written by Buddy Holly and Norman Petty way back in the day. This is, and Think It Over, Buddy Holly, not Think It Over the Cars song. The backing vocals are nice. I like that. Ringo's having fun, and the band and the backing singers sound like they're having fun doing this. I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8. It's obviously not as good as the Buddy Holly version, but it's for a cover, it's a pretty solid version. Pretty fun stuff. I'm going to give it an 8. We go to, excuse me, I'm still getting over being sick there for a while and not 100%, but we go to the 4th song on side 1, which is Samba. Has a kind of a Latin tinge to it. It has a problem with the compressed sound again, but it's a catchy, happy little tune. It's pretty nice and upbeat. Nice little thing. I'm going to give that a 7.8. Then we end side 1 with Rock Island Line. Of course, that's a famous song that's been done by just a ton of people. Lead Belly, Bobby Darin, Johnny Cash, a whole bunch of other people have done this song through the years. It dates back to the 20s. Of course, Lonnie Donegan is in the Beatles story very significant. He did a version of it in the 50s, and that sort of popularized or started the skiffle craze in England. It was actually a hit in America too. Skiffle wasn't as big in America as it was in England, but that was a huge influence on the Beatles and their decision to pick up instruments and start making music. And then, of course, rock and roll came around right about that same time, or right on the heels of skiffle. But huge influence on the Beatles. But this is just sort of, I don't know, mid-level pace of excitement at best. Ringo's take on the song. I went back and listened to Lonnie Donegan, Lead Belly, and Johnny Cash's versions. They're all different, even though it's the same song, and they're all better than Ringo's take. Not really sure why this is here on the album. I guess he was having trouble filling 28 minutes of space on the album at the very last minute. Someone said, hey, we need at least one more song, and he just remembered this from playing it when he was a kid and pulled it out and ran through it, and here it is. It sounds like he's having enough fun here, but it's just not a terrible version, but it's a totally unnecessary version of the song. He doesn't really do anything to differentiate it enough to make it unique or interesting. This would be a good song for him, a fun song for him to do live in concert, maybe, but there's really no reason for him to have committed it to vinyl. I'm going to give it a 5. Excuse me. Side 2, we start off with another revisit. Song is Step Lightly, which of course was originally done. This was written by Ringo. Was originally done on the 1973 Ringo album. A lot better on the Ringo album, I'm going to go ahead and say. This version is a sedate, sort of a snaky musical lounge band tempo to it. Run-of-the-mill cocktail sounding music. Whereas on the Ringo album, it's a countryish sounding, somewhat jazzy sounding take. It's mid-tempo on the Ringo album too, but it's much better, that version, than this. So the Step Lightly here is pleasant, pretty bland though. I'm going to give it a 4. We move on to the second song on a side 2, and it's the song Wonderful. This is not the Beach Boys song. This is a song written by Ringo. Nice vocals on this song, but just nice vocals against bland musics. The song shows occasional signs of a pulse here and there, but in the overall and in the end, this song is pretty much DOA, or if you're one of those Paul is dead conspiracy theorists, we'll say it's OPD. Instantly forgettable. Wonderful is. I can't. I'm trying to remember it now and I can't. We'll give that 3. So the third song on side 2 is called In Liverpool, and here Ringo goes again with the remember I was in the Beatles and Beatle references and back in the day. Sometimes that stuff works. Doesn't work here. It's a dull song. It also gets a 3, and In Liverpool gets a 3. Forgot to mention, as usual, Ringo always has a cornucopia of guest stars on his album, or fellow notable musicians on his album. This time around is no different. We've got Joe Walsh, Dave Stewart, Edgar Winter, Van Dyke Parks, Don Was. Is it Was or Was? I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. I know who he is, and then Kenny Wayne Shepherd, who I have no idea. I've heard of him, but I've never, as far as I know, heard his music. I don't even know. I think he's a country guy, but can't even say that 100%. So those are your guest stars. Ringo plays drums on the album, of course, and sings, and he also, I think, does some keyboards and maybe a little bit of guitar here and there. We end the album with Slow Down, not the song that the Beatles did. That they didn't write that one. That was, can't remember who wrote that, but it's not the Beatles song. This is kind of a rock, kind of a country song. This is the only song on this album that I remember this being played on Little Steven's Underground Garage's Song of the Week back when this album came out. Before I got this album, That was the only song I'd ever heard from here. Not a great song, but not a bad song. I like it when it's on, but it's not a song that I would ever go out of my way to, you know, play. But if it's on, it's nice. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 6, I guess. So that is Ringo 2012. A little bit better than Why Not. Nowhere near as good as the several albums that preceded Why Not. But overall, I'm going to give this album a 6.5. The one thing about this album is that while it does have several songs that are pretty fun and pretty good and I like, there's no really hit you in the gut great song or hugely memorable song, and nothing on here really that I could even see having been a radio hit. uh, it's better than pleasant. There's some good stuff here, but there's no right one for me or Elizabeth Raines or anything. um, Kind of pedestrian, a step above that maybe. 6.5, and 2 more Ringo albums to go, and then day after tomorrow it's going to be 3 more to go. So I'll just keep on soldiering on and get through these. I'm, be honest with you, getting a little Ringoed out here. So, but I'm going to go ahead and finish that. But I'm kind of anxious to get on someone else to review. I've enjoyed it, but a little bit of Ringo overkill here. Anyway, have a good day, and let's see, I can't think of anything else. May do another movie review or two like I did yesterday. I'm about to watch She-Wolf of London, Joe, if you're watching this. So I have never seen that one. You've probably seen it, but I'll see if that's any good or not. Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk to you later.